Gears of War is back! Microsoft hooked us up with a copy of Gears of War 4 for review, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. For fans of the series, this is a great entry for you. For newcomers, stick around, I'll keep you guys in mind as well. My name is Globku and welcome to the official Magical Noob Review. The campaign for Gears 4 is set 25 years after the events of Gears 3. Right from the start, the game sets itself as a new arc in the Gears universe. After the Locust War, we find ourselves in a time of apparent peace, but the nature of the COG has changed dramatically and is causing conflict between the Coalition and the outsiders who chose to live outside of city walls. And also, a new threat called the Swarm is on the rise, so peace is a very relative term. You play as JD Phoenix, son of Marcus, the protagonist of the first 3 games, and he's quite different. He's more of an idealist and white knight sort of protagonist. I found him to be a weaker lead for this game. Too much of a good guy, not enough of a badass when compared to his father.
Dad, you should look at this.
No, you look. I warned you not to join the COG. What did you do?
Dad,
But that does provide some interesting and funny interactions whenever they're together. You play the whole game with Kate and Dell, and this trio of gunslingers is snarky and playful, keeping a light mood even in the most dire of situations. For fans of the series, there are several moments when they show you some old characters and it's hard not to get nostalgic about it. It also feels natural, not a shoehorned reference done just for the sake of nostalgia. I like the overall story. You can compare it to an action movie. It's often predictable, but the action is fun. And I won't say I saw it all coming from a mile away because the story did have its unpredictable moments, but for the most part, you know what to expect. It's a good guys kill the bad guys and everyone wins sort of scenario, but there are a few sacrifices that might be made along the way. It's full of great moments that I won't spoil so I don't rob you guys of the wow factor, but I will say that there are a few sections where you won't be playing a cover shooter at all. And when you are playing a cover shooter, some of these areas are very smart with dynamic cover like these pods. You can shoot the pods to drop them, but if they break they might spawn an enemy. Also be careful with which ones you shoot because the enemy might also take advantage of this new cover. There's also another section with these moving chains where you can suddenly lose cover or be crushed by it if you're standing in the wrong spot. And these are just a couple of examples. Gameplay wise, it's what you would expect from Gears of War with a few new additions, the main one being the new weapons. You fight robots for a good portion of the game, these are the new COG, and they bring a new arsenal of weapons to the table. A sniper rifle without a scope, because robots already have a built-in scope system. A quad barrel shotgun that fires every time you pull the trigger, and then again every time you release it, dealing a ton of burst damage at short range. And there are a few others as well. And then for non-robot weapons, the Buzzkill fires saw blades that bounce off walls, and perhaps my favorite new addition, the drop shot, which fires an aerial mine when you pull the trigger and drills down when you release it. It explodes if it hits the ground, or it burrows into an enemy's skull if you hit it dead on. While all of this is happening, Planet Sarah is also trying to kill you, in the form of wind flares. These crazy storms affect objects in the environment, and even your own projectiles like grenades or the saw blades from the Buzzkill. And sometimes it might also bring the Rage of Thor with lightning that will kill you in an instant. The whole campaign can be played solo, or you can bring a friend, a single friend, through split screen, LAN, or online co-op to play with you as any of the other characters present in the mission. It's also cross-play, so Xbox One and PC will be able to play it together. And I finished the story in about 6 hours, slightly over that, and it was all really well paced, never a dull moment, a really nice action campaign. Let's jump into multiplayer, starting with Horde mode. There are some returning features, but also a lot of new things, so let's just say what it is. You can play it by yourself or with up to 5 players, LAN or online. Horde mode is first introduced to you through the campaign. There are a couple of missions where you're literally playing Horde mode, so if you clear the campaign first, Horde will feel very easy to get into. When you start off, you can select one of the classes. Each one has a unique weapon or tool, like the engineer. He's the only one who can repair structures, for instance. And you can also pick up some class skills as you level up. If you want to, you can also select a bounty, which is a challenge that you impose on yourself during that match to get some extra credits or XP. Class skills, bounties, as well as cosmetic items are all obtained through blind crates, which you can purchase with in-game currency or microtransactions. I found the rate at which you get the currency to be decent. I was able to open a crate pretty much every time I finished the Horde match, so progression didn't feel slow even when I wasn't putting in the money. As you begin a match of Horde, you can choose where to place your fabricator. This is the device used to build your defenses. Keep in mind that your defenses have health, so if they get shot or attacked, they will go down. When you kill an enemy, they'll drop currency, which you need to go over there and get it. And when you bring this currency back to the fabricator, you can deposit it and your whole team can use it to build more stuff. Every 10 waves you get a boss fight, and as you would expect, things just get tougher and tougher as time goes on. Like the campaign, Horde mode is crossplay, meaning matchmaking happens across the Xbox One and the PC. Overall, I really like the changes made to Horde mode. It has enough new to feel fresh, but the essence is still there, that chaos that I thrive and love and look for in Horde mode. So if you liked it previously, I'd say you'll enjoy it now too. I never really got into Gears versus multiplayer previously, but I've been enjoying versus from what I played. It's hard to tell how long that will last though, as the game's not out yet and it's been tough finding multiplayer matches consistently, mainly because only press is playing it at this point. The footage you're watching is against bots because that's all I managed to record, but I did get a couple of player matches meanwhile. Gears multiplayer is still a game about knowing where your opponents are, making sure you stay behind cover and flank your enemy when attacking. The absence of a radar, like in most modern shooters, makes knowing your enemy's position your top priority, and you gotta use your eyes and ears. It's easy to get distracted with a target in front of you while a second player flanks you and gets a free kill, and the selection of maps available facilitates this too. One of the worst things that can happen in cover shooters is reaching a formula or a stalemate. When you have an enemy taking cover on a choke point and you have no way to get to him without entering his line of fire. These maps offer a lot of different paths, ways to circumvent your enemies or flank them, so if you play it smart, you can draw anyone out from whatever cover they're hunkered down on. One thing I would have liked to see is the destructible environment or the dynamic cover that we talked about in the campaign transition over to the multiplayer, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The new weapons from the campaign also show up in versus and offer exciting new possibilities. I think the buzzsaw will be a high skill cap weapon because even though it deals a lot of damage with a straight hit, its strength comes from bouncing the saws off the walls, and skilled players will be able to take advantage of that. I'm a bit concerned with the long shot, as now players have mouse and keyboard control and this is a one-shot weapon on headshot, and with this precision and aiming, I'm guessing it will be extremely overpowered. Naturally, because playing with a controller and mouse and keyboard is so drastically different, Versus is the only game mode that does not feature crossplay. And also, to keep the game competitive, your loadout options don't include any of the class skills that you find in Horde mode. You can select your starter weapons and a bounty to accelerate your progress, but you'll find no gameplay benefits from these crates. The game ships with 8 different game modes, a good variety of maps, and you can host private matches online or through LAN, as well as play together with other players against bots, play against other players casually, or try your luck on ranked. It feels like a very complete package, and my initial impressions are very positive. It's just hard for me to say how I'll feel about this in the long run, as I just didn't have the opportunity to play more matches. The campaign runs at 30 frames per second on the Xbox One and 60 frames per second on the PC. The resolution can vary as the game uses a technology called dynamic resolution scaling. Basically, whenever the game is demanding too much of the system, it will downscale the resolution in order to provide stability. Though at its best, it will run at 1080p. The dynamic resolution scaling option is also present in the PC version, which might be awesome if you have a lower end machine. I turned dynamic resolution off, turned the graphics up to ultra, and the benchmark looked like this with a GTX 980. The game ran at a stable 60 frames per second the whole way, but it does have a few issues on ambient occlusion and texture filtering. In layman's terms, whenever you're too far away or not looking in a particular direction, the game loads up lower resolution textures which are supposed to seamlessly transition into more detailed textures as you get closer to them. All games do this, otherwise it would be too demanding on your system. But in Gears of War 4, it is very common to see the higher resolution textures not loading in time. So I ended up looking at low res objects even when I got up close to them. The same goes with lighting. Whenever you're not looking, the lighting just doesn't load up as fast as you would like it to. And whether these are big or small issues, that is for you to decide. I didn't think it was too big of a deal, as the game looks great and runs flawlessly in every other way. On multiplayer, both platforms run the game at 60 frames per second, with the PC version looking slightly better, as you would expect. I didn't notice any of the issues with texture filtering or ambient occlusion in multiplayer, so from a technical standpoint, both versions seem flawless. A final note on the PC version, playing this game with mouse and keyboard felt incredibly natural. I was playing the campaign on normal on the Xbox One, and I thought it was an appropriate difficulty for my skill level. When I switched over to the PC, the game just got so easy on normal. It's a lot easier to line up shots, and it's like the franchise has always belonged to the PC. Say what you will about console shooters, nothing beats keyboard and mouse. You immediately understand why they didn't do crossplay on Versus versus. But at the end of the day, play the game how you think you will enjoy it the most. You buy it once and you have it on both platforms anyway, so you can choose. Overall, it's a very solid entry in the Gears franchise. Fans of the series will be happy with what this game has to offer, and since it's a new saga in the series, newcomers won't feel lost jumping right into this. There are characters there you won't know details of previous events. The game does have a prologue that sets up some stuff, but that's still not enough to understand the few nudges that happen through dialogue here and there. But don't let that discourage you from jumping right into this fine installment. If you guys got any questions or thoughts about Gears of War that you want to share, feel free to do it in the comments below. Like the video if you found it useful, and for more gaming goodness, subscribe to Magical Noob. I've been Globku, thanks for watching, bye!